Hi friends, it's Miss Pingel story time. I have my friend Mona the monkey and Packy the cat here to listen to the story called Mr. Good. It's written and illustrated by Roger Hargreaves. Mr. Good. Now Mr. Good is very good. He always makes his bed, he always cleans his teeth, and he always wipes his feet. He never slams doors, and he never forgets birthdays. And he never, ever tells lies. Mr. Good is very, very good. However, Mr. Good lives in a place called Badland, a place where no one is like Mr. Good, a place where people do slam doors, and they slam them in your face. In Badland, the puddles are much deeper than they look. In Badland, a dog's bite is worse than its bark. In Badland, even the trees are bad. One day it was wet and windy. Well, of course it was. The weather is always bad in Badland. Mr. Good was walking along, minding his own business, when the hat of a man in front of him blew off. Mr. Good leaped in the air and caught it for him. The man turned around and glared at Mr. Good. "What do you think you're doing?" he thundered. "Give me my hat back." Poor Mr. Good. This sort of thing was always happening to him. You see, the very idea of doing a good deed in Badland was preposterous, unthinkable, crazy. If Mr. Good offered to help carrying someone's groceries, he was accused of stealing them. If he kindly held a door open for someone, he would get bonked in the head. Not surprisingly, Mr. Good was not very happy. In fact, he was downright miserable. So he decided to go for a long walk to think about things. He walked for a very, very long time. He was so deep in thought that he did not notice how far he had actually gone. He was so deep in thought that he accidentally walked slap bang right into someone else. I'm so sorry, Mr. Good said nervously. "Well, that's quite all right," said the man, and carried on his way. Quite all right, thought Mr. Good to himself. That's quite all right? In his whole life, no one had ever said that to Mr. Good before. Then Mr. Good noticed that the sun was shining, which was strange because the sun never shone in Badland before. Further on, Mr. Good found a dustpan on its side. Without thinking, he tidied up all the rubbish. "Thank you," said a woman. Mr. Good stared at her. In his whole life, no one had ever said thank you to him. "Excuse me, miss, can you please tell me where I am?" "You're in Goodland," replied the woman. "Oh, thank you," said Mr. Good. "My pleasure," said the woman. And Mr. Good beamed with a huge smile. And I'm sure you have guessed by now that Mr. Good now lives in Goodland. And Mr. Good is happy. Very, very happy, doing good deeds all day long. The only thing Mr. Good still does not trust are puddles. Once you have stepped in a Badland puddle, you never forget. All right, I hope you are still being good for your families at home like you always do for us in the classroom. Stay good, stay healthy, laugh, and stay tuned for the next videos. Love you all. Bye.